know that Rachel Murat is an early adopter in this space, okay, in the digital citizenship space. And early on, when like digital citizenship, like it's got a very broad term, means a lot of things to a lot of people. At the time, it was in a very like reactive place. And there were few people doing the proactive work. Rachel Murat was one of them. And she had the support of her administration. And what Maine NWEL has been able to do is absolutely incredible. And I just want to say, I don't know if she's going to say this, but she was looking for a documentary, right? She was looking for some documentary, and they were all scare tactics. And so what does Rachel do? Okay, if one doesn't exist, we're going to create one. And so if you haven't seen Positively Social, I'll make sure that the link is dropped in the chat. They have hosted a student DIGCIT, student-led DIGCIT summit, which inspired Michael Drezick, talk about those ripple effects. Rachel, you are joined today with your superintendent, Jason. So happy to have you with us and can't wait to hear about your journey.
Thank you, Mary Alice. So we, in 2013 is really when I seemed to notice that the kids really were on those social spaces a lot more often, and more kids had cell phones. And so I was really concerned that we weren't doing anything to be able to help them navigate that space, because obviously their parents had, not navigated that space. So I went to Jason, who was the superintendent and my principal at the time, and I said, there's this thing called digital citizenship, and I think that we need to hop on this train, because I feel like if we're going to really be preparing our students for life after school, and also, just in life in general, then we need to be doing this. So I created a digital citizenship course with the support of my administration, and it has evolved over the years to a digital leadership class. So we started off with learning more about, what is a digital footprint, and how do we do these things, and all of those things that now are very commonplace. And we really got the kids thinking about the permanency of it, and understanding that when you Google yourself, there might be some things out there that you had not anticipated, especially since middle school is a whole thing. That really started that ball rolling. And then Mary Alice is talking about in 2016, 2017, we were trying to figure out how do we talk about digital citizenship in a greater space so that more people could understand what it was and how to use it and things like that. So we were looking for a documentary to show the students, and I said to the students, there's not one out there that depicts this positively. So one of my students raised their hand and said, well, can we do our own video? And I was like, okay. So we put together Positively Social. I put the link in the chat, and they were really great in wanting to make sure that we were framing the use of tech for good, and the fact that we can actually use these spaces in a positive way. And then it evolved into another student wanting to hold a digital citizenship summit. So we did that, and I had two students do TEDx-like talks at the summit. And then the class then evolved more into digital leadership, because as Jason's going to mention in a little bit, we kind of went to a K-12 immersive digital citizenship as one of the layers of what we teach, instead of just in a silo for my class. Because my whole intent when I began teaching that was that this isn't going to be the only avenue where I can have 30 kids per semester getting this. We needed to be having these discussions K-12. And so once the kids started getting more digital citizenship just in every single class that they are taking, whether it's, kindergarten or 3rd grade or 10th grade or whatever, we then transitioned to a digital leadership course, where we're doing things like diving into the UN Sustainable Developmental Goals, and how can we use our voice to help areas that maybe we weren't even aware of as students, that were areas that things globally that we needed to help with, because we started to want to open up their eyes a little bit more to their voice and how they could make a difference globally. So we've done things like, we had student-led Twitter chats where we were the #1 trending hashtag for that half an hour, and the kids were so excited about We had over 1,000 tweets, and we had people from all over the world. We hit 5 continents. And I didn't really do anything except they came up with the questions. They came up with the hashtag that they wanted to use and everything. And then I just put it out there for onto my social media to try to get people engaged and aware that the Twitter chat was happening, and those conversations continued beyond that chat. And a couple opportunities came through my students wanting to elevate their voice. And so there were some internships that came out about that. There was, you know, some better understanding that their voice does matter. So then I also started having them use their voice locally in things that mattered to them, that they wanted to be able to, you know, have their voice be present for. So for example, last semester in my digital leadership course, I asked them to raise awareness for something that was important to them. And I had 28 students in that class, and my rubric was more like, you know, you picked something that was important to you, you raised awareness by this, you know, things like that. And out of, I think it was 28 students, out of 28 students, 26 picked mental health and some form of mental health. And so obviously, you know, that is on the forefront of everyone, but there were so many conversations that came out of that because of the fact that I gave them that tool to say, your voice is important and you need to help make a difference. Because, you know, if we want kids to step up and be leaders and feel like their voice matters when they're adults, we have to provide opportunities for that when they're students as well. So I'm going to transition over to Jason, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the administration portion of that.
Which is so exciting, I'm sure. But first of all, when you have someone like this on your staff, you pour gasoline and you keep pouring gasoline. So since 2013, we've been pouring as much gas on Rachel because this is the great work she's doing for our students in our larger community. So when Rachel came to me, I've been in this role since 2011, and when Rachel came to me in around 2012-13 and said, "Hey, I think we need to get in front of this," I let her go. And so what we realized was, and again, now 2020, we kind of look at it as the norm. Technology was blowing up, and it has blown up, and now it is as common as textbooks and pencils and paper, all right, from a traditional standpoint. And so we needed to get out in front of this because we were throwing so much technology at students, software, apps, hardware, that we hadn't stopped to think, do we know if students even, number one, know how to use it, and adults, but do they understand the power that comes with it? And so that was really the deeper question, was as a leadership team and as a district, we're putting students out in front of the world with technology, and yet have we had a conversation around what's responsible and what's the right way to use technology that is both safe for themselves, but also is promoting that harmony and that inclusiveness and that tolerance. And so through Rachel's work, we redeveloped our board policies. We had a board policy that said it was acceptable use of technology. We changed that to be responsible use of technology, and wanting students to be able to use and explore with technology, but also recognizing that there's a responsibility that comes with that massive tool. We changed our coursework. We have now made it part of our technology strategic plan. We have a technology strategic plan, and that work included embedding digital citizenship K-12. Why? Because we now have every student in Maine Endwell has access to a device, a mobile learning device, and just handing that to someone without understanding the responsibility that comes with it, for us, we felt was wrong, quite frankly. So we've embedded that into our course, K-12, because that responsibility that comes with using technology. So, you know, as we keep moving forward, the pandemic, you know, in 1920, we did a whole district. We invited everyone from New York State that wanted to participate into a Mindfully Digital Summit that was student-led. The reason for that is we wanted to highlight what we were doing, but we wanted to also share with other communities, school communities. We recognized not everyone was as quick to the game as maybe they would have liked. The pandemic hits, and now technology is as necessary as it's ever been. And we were thankful for the work we did, but we also recognize that there's so much more work that needs to be done. And so while we're at a point where we feel comfortable, looking backwards. Moving forward, though, the pandemic has highlighted many issues that technology and responsible use we still have to address. And so my message to everybody moving forward is we still have a lot of work to do in this area. And thankfully, there's so many resources, we're so connected that moving forward as a whole team, not only from a region, but from the state and even the entire world, this is work that we have to keep moving forward on. Because every year that we go without addressing this type of work, we're getting farther and farther behind. And so we want to stay at the forefront, but on the flip side, we want to work with all of our partners because there's so much more learning left.
And one of the important things that Jason has always been in support of is giving the microphone to our students to be able to share their journey, to be able to talk about their learning, talk about their interaction with this, talk about how it is important for them to develop that voice. And so on our screen, we just have one of the newsletters that went out for that information and how we have been having students help us drive how we make decisions about technology. So Jason has been an amazing advocate of student voice when it comes to different committees that we have, in district-wide or building-wide, so that they are at the table when we are making decisions about what it is that we're doing. Because as our largest stakeholder in the educational process, they need to be at the table. And so I couldn't obviously have done any of this without the support of our administration. But it literally takes an entire village, as you all know, to do that. And so I think that it's really important, if we are going to continue to offer opportunities for students to develop their voice, that they're in lots of different avenues or lanes, so that we never know where this lane is not the student, but this lane is for a student. And so they all of a sudden hook onto something that they're passionate about, and they really can make a difference. The document in my blog, I just saw in the chat. I don't know why it's not working. It worked yesterday. I will go back and I'll fix that link for you for that document that's in my blog. The video, Positively Social, is also in that resource. And then also all of my lessons and my slide decks and my resources are always free for people to use, and they're in my blog as well. And I included that in the resources that I sent Mary Alice. So you have access to all of the things that we've been working on. So, but I do want to circle back around and give a shout out to Mary Alice, because without Mary Alice's support and confidence and her just go get 'em attitude, I don't necessarily think any of this would be happening. And Mary Alice actually was at our school, and she and I were teaching one of the classes together, and we are both a tornado, individually. So when you put the two of us together in the classroom, the kids were like, "What just happened?" So she's just got such amazing energy. Mary Alice, is my blog in the Wakelet resources?
It's going to be in the Wakelet. We're just curating everything, and then we'll be getting that Wakelet out. But I've already put your blog in the chat. I'll do it again. But I really want to thank both of you, because first of all, Rachel, you were early in, and I've been on this journey with you for a really long time, and it's been incredible to watch. And I know that we've been using the word layers, but it's like adding layers. And Jason, your voice is so valuable. Michael Drezik's and Deanne Poland, they were with Lakeshore Central earlier this morning, and they were talking about that they have been successful because they had the support from their administration, from their assistant superintendent 4 years ago. And I feel like if we can get that message, because that's about layers, that's about connecting dots, that means that we need to, this isn't just a message for some or that group or that grade or that content, this is for everybody. And you really have demonstrated that. And honestly, we are hoping, we're really excited. Today's just the kickoff to start this conversation, what this looks like. But this time next year, we can't wait. We are going to host a live student showcase, and it will be under that large umbrella about what Use Tech for Good looks like. That could be digital citizenship, digital leadership, civic readiness, and so that we get to, again, see our young people taking that lead. So I thank you both for taking the time to share your journey with us, because you are a true inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, terrific.